I'm gonna present 6 different answers to one of the most popular unanswered mysteries on Lost, the Outrigger chase. But first, let's look through the episode.
Charlotte!
The characters are now at the 5th time shift, and they are now in November 2004. And this event we've already covered on the Lost Journeys back in the 3rd season. Michael, Hurley and Jin have just completed a small golf tournament, and John Locke is carrying a wounded Boone through the jungle, but the time travelers are now trying to wake up Charlotte. Then Locke proposes the idea that they should go to the Orchid, cut the travel time in half. That's an issue since they are leaving on the eastern coast on the island with the Outrigger, but we know that the Orchid should be on the western coast due to the proximity of the statue. My theory is that Locke and Sawyer knows how tricky this terrain here is, and Locke knows that by going around the eastern coast, they will end up at the wharf where they had the submarine and follow the river into the barracks. Charlotte will be able to lay still in the boat, since the Zodiac is both extremely fast and has a motor. Stash the Zodiac at the boathouse at the barracks and then walk straight to the Orchid. It's easier to have Charlotte laying in a boat instead of carrying her, and much better than traveling through a jungle. They keep going and pass the swan site, then they go further but go down here to avoid themselves. John Locke knows when they are, so they take the long way around this part of the island, through the jungle. Then we have a new flash, and this one is post 2007. We're about to arrive at the infamous Outrigger chase scene. One of these Outriggers was parked at the beach camp the last time we saw it. So whoever came to the beach camp found it parked. It's possibly down the beach or behind the bushes. So it should be somewhere at the beach camp. The other one has protruding structures on both sides of the boat. For instance, this one, which carries the cargo from the Ajira flight, has that, and is the same one we see in the Outrigger chase. Which makes sense since the Ajira plane landed there, so the bottle came from the other island to this one. Let's call this one the cargo Outrigger. Later in the series, they were going to connect the dots, revisit this scene, but it never happened. Jorge Garcia even talked about it on the podcast.
Or edited out of the final thing that aired, like the fact that Kate Austin was on the wall in the script, crossed off, but then they didn't show it, or small things, I can't think of anything else other than that and the thing I'm about to mention that were edited out, that we had to like
the boats.
Oh yeah, talk about that.
Wasn't there something where
firing at the boat, season 5?
Yeah, when there was like. When they were getting shot at, there was that episode where they were getting shot at when they're in the boat.
Miles and Sawyer or something.
And then there was a part when they were jumping.
The sky was going from day to night. Yeah.
And
who, they didn't know who was shooting at them. You never saw who it was. But in season 6 you did, but that got edited out. And who was it?
Forget now.
It was Ben, wasn't it?
I don't remember now.
Okay, maybe we will have to have a final podcast when we're back in our own house with the scripts again.
Oh man, really?
You don't remember?
I almost felt like it was. Well, wait, who was in the boat? Who was getting shot at?
Juliet, Miles, Sawyer. It was like.
And Locke?
And Locke, I think. Yeah, I think it was everybody who was. But
I felt like Locke was in the boat where they were shooting as well. Like Locke was shooting at himself.
Yeah, that is what it was. That is what it was. Yeah. What was that? Yeah, it was. It was like Locke shooting at himself.
Oh, because Locke wasn't dead yet. But why would he shoot himself?
Because he was Man in Black.
But why would
he was Man in Black?
Why would he want to shoot Locke when he needed?
Because wasn't it Man in Black and Ben got into the canoe when they left the Ajira people to go to the other island?
Is that when it happened?
I think that's what it was.
Man.
I'm sorry, we don't know.
However, co-creator Damon Lindelof, years later, did reveal who it was on Twitter. So, at some point, Oprah got into the Outrigger and started following our characters. Well, let's look at some theories. The Outrigger mystery has puzzled the fans for years. The writers have said several times that the Outrigger chase is written and is kept a secret.
Damn! I have to give you some level of satisfaction without answering the question, which is the Lost Way. And I will say this is, we actually wrote that scene. It was going to be in the final season. It definitively answered who was on the Outrigger in a perfect, very satisfactory way. And all the writers...
Which is not the Lost Way.
Yeah, which is not the Lost Way. And all the writers, and by the way, I do need to say this in front of all of you, Carlton and I are but representatives of the amazing writers' room. Incredible writers all the way through. Eddie Kitsis and Adam Horowitz on from season 1, Liz Sarnoff on from the beginning of season 2, Drew Goddard, Brian K. Vaughan, amongst many others. We all looked at it and said, this is a cool answer, but what's much cooler is to not answer this question. And we all looked at each other and said, I shit you not, years from now, someone is going to stand up at a panel. And I'm not joking.
And he's going to want to have sex with you.
Yeah. And ask us about the Outrigger with an offer of sex. And we will have to say, no, sir.
Yes.
We decline. But that is the truth. It happened. The scene exists. It's actually on paper. And years from now, for some excellent charity, we will probably auction it off. But we do know the answer.
If this was during season 6, then the camp should have the remains of Ilana's group while they stayed there. The fire Peter set up. During the time flash, the kitchen table is still intact with the parachute roof on, although a bit dilapidated. While in season 6, it is almost completely missing, with brown patches left. The fireplace Frank set up is all gone. Sawyer's tent is still intact in the time flash. But in season 6, it's completely fallen apart. So is it likely that the Outrigger chase happens during season 5? I don't know, because when we see the others arriving at the camp in the season 5 finale, there's a lot of inconsistencies here. In fact, the state of the beach camp in the time flash would suggest that it's happening before the season 5 finale, therefore in that 3-year time span when only Claire and the others were on the island. But that doesn't make sense with the Ajira bottle. This could just be a product of the real-life situation. The beach camp is not a built-in set in a studio. The film crew has to put it up, put it down, put it up again, and so on. Therefore, I won't put too much emphasis on it. To correctly place the sequence, it has to be after the beach camp has been wrecked due to no maintenance. The OG Outrigger is still on the beach, the cargo Outrigger is on the beach and not on Hydra Island, and both Outriggers are set on the camp next to Saeed's tent, possibly ready to go. And it's after Ajira Flight 316 has landed because of the bottle. I would say that there are several prominent theories here. Here's a selection. 1. The Black Rock crew. This one is part of the DVD bonus material and not necessarily canon. In it, we got this story from the Black Rock Ledger. Here it is in its entirety.
Adequately portray the horrors of this fearful night. A strange mist has enveloped the ship. It is unusual and has put everyone ill at ease. December 15th? The mist has totally disappeared and it is broad daylight. Despite best efforts to navigate away from the island, we cannot seem to escape its pull and anxious rumors are spreading. Our compasses are rendered inert for reasons that mystify me. Incomprehensible altogether is the conduct of Captain Hanso. He prattles away the merest nonsense about the island and writes in his journal senseless equations. He is bewildered and cannot recollect anything. He was overheard asking Whitfield, "Is it 1881? I cannot bring myself to the conclusion that the man is mad. December 16th? The first to abandon his post was Thayer, a man I mentioned before as exhibiting something of a mutinous spirit. After complaining for days of headache and hallucinations, it would appear he has suffered a malady of the brain as blood rushes from his nostrils with no hope of stopping the flow. Before he explained in the doctor's arms, he spoke as if a 10-year-old boy asking his mother for sweets. Other members of the crew have begun to complain of similar headaches. The island is now off the port. Was it not just starboard? December 18th? Anali team of 6 men was launched at first light in an attempt to get to the island with hopes of determining our location. Only one returned alive. He seems in a deep shock, muttering about exchanging musket fire with another vessel which promptly disappeared in a flash of heavenly light. He went on to claim that after hours of traversing the island, his 5 crewmates simply jumped overboard as if lemmings, and no degree of coaxing could persuade them back into the boat. They drowned. Every one. There will be no more away teams. December 19th? I awoke paralyzed by fear. Amidst the sounds of the night, there was something else. Though faint, it sounded like the whispering of voices seemingly all around me. Then a scream froze in my throat. In the doorway to my cabin stood a shape. It was Captain Hanso. Pale and fearful as if he'd seen the devil himself. I provided him a whiskey with hopes of putting him back in bed should any crew member see him in this state, but the poor man seemed beyond calming. His mind was beset by conspiracies involving a man he called Jacob, who Hanso believed commissioned this very expedition with the intention of bringing us to this maddening place. Once Hanso was back in his quarters, I immediately reviewed the shipping receipts, but found no mention of any Jacob. If anyone is to get us out of this, it will not be that fool. December 22nd. Our lookout claims he has spotted 2 men on the shore of the island at the foot of the statue that has the crew so concerned. Another hallucination, no doubt. The wind freshened considerably. It appears a storm is imminent. God save us all.
You're still free to choose this one as your headcanon, but I think it's a very unlikely scenario, especially that the Blackrock crew have an identical Polynesian type of outrigger that exists on the island. Okay, but maybe they had a different ship, and they entered the dome around the island at the wrong bearing, causing them to appear almost 140 years into the future, at the same time as the travelers. And then they docked, found another outrigger, used that one instead, fired at our characters, and then after everyone jumped aboard, one of them sailed back and went through another portal, this time back in time, while exiting the island bubble. But the Blackrock seemed to be inside the island bubble, so that makes little sense that they would conveniently time travel without moving the wheel, just by being in the water. Additionally, the Blackrock ledger says that the other outrigger vanished in heavenly light, but that doesn't happen on the show. From the other perspective, the people just disappear.
What just happened? Where did you go?
To give Richard his compass back.
So I think it's a stretch. Let's look at other theories. Number 2, it was the others. At some point during season 6, they acquired the outriggers and started shooting. Number 3, the sequel idea. The third theory is that the other people is something that we will see down the line. Disney owns Lost. Sooner or later, they might try to revive the show and give us new stories on the island. I mean, it's Disney after all. And who knows? They might add in the outrigger chase. So if you're watching this video 20 years in the future and this has happened, well, that's why I have this as one of the major theories. Number 4, Ilana's team. This one is one of the more popular amongst the fanbase, and is also put forward by the YouTuber Getting Lost, link in the description, namely because Ilana's team uses this cargo outrigger during this time that the time flash happened, and at this point in time the camp is destroyed. Man in Black Locke's group arrives at the camp. They rest, drink the rest of the beer and move on, but Ilana's group have taken the cargo outrigger from Hydro Island to the main island. Maybe they parked it here. They walk to the cabin, then continue moving and then retreating back to the outrigger. It seems like they are going onwards from here to here, but maybe they are going like this. Then back to the cargo outrigger to take it with them to the statue. Since it's easier to travel there by sea instead of through the jungle, they spot the beach camp, investigate the place, taking out the crate from the cargo outrigger, finding the OG outrigger, thinking that this is Man in Black's outrigger. So if Ilana knows that Sun is with the imposter, maybe they went into the jungle to track them. But since they heard voices, possibly Sawyer shouting, they would head back to the beach, see that the OG outrigger is missing, then they would leave the crate on the beach, possibly with someone guarding it, before heading out at sea. Thinking this is the Man in Black Lock with his group, they started shooting, then these guys vanish, and then the group returned to the beach to get the crate, before heading onto the sea to a beach near the statue where they would take the crate off the Outrigger, walk a little bit, and then meet Richard. This is a very plausible theory in my opinion, because in the substitute, they might bring Locke's body on the Outrigger, park it here, before going to the beach camp since they have the ocean on this side in that episode.
Why did you have to bring him to the statue in the first place?
Because the people there need to see the face of what they're up against.
And what's to stop what they're up against from changing his face?
He can't. Not anymore. He's stuck this way.
Number 5. Zoe's team. This is also a good theory, and it places the chase during season 6. This theory is supported by the YouTube channel Lost Explained, as the Widmore group going to and from Hydra Island on reconnaissance missions, for instance to find Jin, and that after the mortar attack they went back to the beach camp, found one of the Outriggers missing, shooting at Man in Black Locke, since at that time anyone aligning with him are a threat. Then after they vanished, they would head on the exact same path to Hydra Island, and while arriving there, Widmore's deal is changed. I would advise you to check out Lost Explains video on it, since he explains it better than me. Number 6. Ben, Richard and Miles. I don't see a lot of people talk about this one, but I like it, and I've grown to like it more and more. It fixes a map issue I've been thinking about for a long time, so it works for my channel in terms of movements on the island. And it's not Zoe's team or Ilana's team. It answers the question, why did Ben, Miles and Richard spend 3 days going to the barracks in season 6?
You sure this is a shortcut, huh?
We all know it takes 1 day and a half from the beach camp, and they're far into the jungle at the Black Rock, heading to the barracks to find C4. And it's like Ben and Richard and Miles, and this group is like some of the most experienced people on the island. Even Miles, who has been on the island for 3 years in the Dharma Initiative, and they spent 3 days going to the barracks. I mean, what are they doing for 3 days? And by the time we catch up to them, Miles even asks Ben if this is a shortcut. So here's my idea. They know that they need to be on Hydra Island to blow up the plane. So when Richard is packing stuff in Everybody Loves Hugo, the group gathers the 2 Outriggers that they have close by at the beach camp, so they are ready to set for them to travel to Hydra Island to blow up the plane. That's why they need 2 Outriggers, because it's a large group. The OG Outrigger that was last seen in Gion is here, something that the survivors know about, and a cargo Outrigger, which I believe would be here someplace. And to me, this also answers the bottle situation. I think Ben is the one who organizes this, because in his stuff, he has an Ajira water bottle. The show even has some long shots of him drinking from the Ajira water bottle.
How are you feeling, my friend?
Like someone hit me with an oar, but I'll live.
What do you make of him?
So maybe Ben was always supposed to be on the Outrigger chase. And this water bottle is the one that he replaces with the oceanic bottle, which he carries at the end of the series. After all, when Hugo is made the protector of the island, Ben has only 1 bottle to give them. The group need 2 Outriggers to get to Hydra Island since there are so many, and when the Outriggers are set, they travel to the Black Rock. The group split. Miles, Richard and Ben head the same way back from the Black Rock, as in they are going back to the beach camp. Going this way and parking near the boathouse. This is the quickest way, one that Ben would definitely call a shortcut, since there is a river going into the barracks. Funny enough, it's pretty much the same idea Locke is doing right now.
The greenhouse is a long ways away.
You said you had a Zodiac raft back at the beach. We could take that, cut around the horn of the island to get the Orchid in half the time.
So when they arrive, to their surprise, they find one of the Outriggers missing, and start using the cargo Outrigger to travel to the barracks to find the C4. They take off and assume that the Man in Black is possibly heading to Hydra Island, to leave the island. They can't see him, but maybe Richard sees that Locke is there with a bunch of people, assuming that Hugo's plan failed and he has already grabbed some candidates and is on his way. They shoot at the boat. Then maybe they even assume the blonde woman shooting back is Crazy Claire. Something dawns on Miles. He realizes what this is, an event he participated in 3 years ago. Says that they should stop shooting, and one of them is shot and then the Outrigger vanishes. Therefore, Miles, Ben and Richard need to hastily head to the shore to treat the gunshot wound for whoever was shot. And they need to stay put and rest for a couple of days to let the wound heal, although we don't see any gunshot wounds on them and they are not visibly injured, which is why I think the 3-day delay works. The island will do the rest of the healing, as they say, because now, when they have parked at the river and end up in the barracks around here, Miles asks this to Ben.
You sure this is a shortcut, huh?
It's because of this idea, using the Outrigger to get to the barracks. It wouldn't have been a shortcut if they spent 3 days walking to the barracks. Now, which one of these is your favorite? Let's get back to the show. The next flash takes them to a rainstorm in 1988. There's a lot to discuss when it comes to the exact date, but I will get back to that later. Not in this video. When it comes to Rousseau's time on the island is still somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Locke's group come to the shore, over here. Some of the remnants from the French expedition have washed ashore. The group make a camp here, sheltering from the storm. Then over here we have the French team, who have deployed a life raft and are trying to get to the shore. They discover Jin. They bring him in and then get to the shore over here. Next episode will be a mythological episode. See you in a week and please subscribe for more island exploration.